Live right.
All right, we are live coming at you on Thursday. Surely you're not watching Thursday Night Football. You're tuned in for the Thursday night live stream here on Wesker Griff Plus. The
Wesker Griff Plus.
Wow.
the unofficial World Series little chat discussion that we're going to have with some Phillies fans. Obviously, you know all these guys if you watch my channel. If you're involved in the YouTube card collecting community, but we'll do some introductions just in case you've been living under a rock. I'm Ed Wesker Griff, obviously, and we'll start down below. Who's that guy?
My name is MikeO. I collect Phillies cards. I watch Phillies baseball. I like the Phillies, enjoy the Phillies, and I'm looking forward to the 118th World Series. Should be fun coming up in less than 24 hours. We're like 23 hours away.
And next,
Raymond.
I don't even know why I'm here. I'm from Houston. I'm an Astros fan.
Cut the feed.
Anyway. Yeah.
Go ahead, Alex.
I am Alex, also known as Bowman 53, and I pretty much have to just echo everything that MikeO said. Like, I dig the Phillies, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that they're in the World Series, but I'm definitely excited about that. I love it, and I'm ready for some. I'm ready for some World Series baseball. Looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
All right, Ray from Houston, you want to try that again?
We know Ray's heart's in Texas.
Ray,
yeah,
you got a
this is
snack
Ray
there?
from Philly.
That wasn't
Wi-Fi
me.
is
That's
terrible
all. That's all you need to
down
know.
in Houston.
You just need to know he's Ray from Philly. That's it.
Yeah, that's not on me. Looks like Ray's got to pay that Comcast bill.
Maybe he used his allotment up rewatching 1980 stuff on the MLB Network last night.
It would have been awesome if Ray would have said 1980 and then just froze. All right, but we'll see if Ray comes back or if he has a proverbial stove moment where he's forever frozen in time in YouTube history. But no, there he goes. But we'll see if he hops back in. We'll put him back on. But the World Series, less than 24 hours away for Game 1. We were talking a little bit about it before hopping on live, but it seems that the national pundits are all picking the Astros in 4. Really not too many people giving the Phillies a chance. I know if you look at the sports betting odds, and me and Mike were kind of talking a little bit about this, the Astros, I think, opened up at negative 160 to win the series. They are now almost negative 200 as we get closer to Game 1. So that kind of tells me that all the money is being thrown on the Astros and not too much is on the Phillies. But like I mentioned to Mike in our conversation, and I'll mention it here, the Phillies have been the underdog every single series from the Cardinal series. So what difference does it really make that they're underdogs again? But your thoughts on the Phillies being overwhelmingly across the board being underdogs?
Yeah, I'll say they've been underachieving all season long. I mean, I've personally been frustrated by them as a fan for a long time. I mean, we all have, right? And I remember, I finally kind of like gave up on the idea that the 2007, 2011 thing was going to continue, and that they were in rebuilding mode, and they've been in rebuilding mode for a long, long time. I thought they still were, and I guess they kind of still are. I'm surprised to see them make it as far as they have. But I think what happened was right around the end of September, everything that they thought this team was going to be actually started happening. And it's actually happening like right now, like in the postseason. The team is actually the team that they thought it was going to be when they got all these guys in the offseason. And that's why they're doing so well. And when it comes to like the pundits and everything, I don't listen to any of that stuff. I mean, like, I feel like all that stuff is like what we're listening to while we're waiting for the game to start. And as soon as the game starts, it's like none of that stuff matters. Like, all that matters is, do you play the game well in the moment? And like one bad mistake, one bad pitch from the greatest pitcher ever, and suddenly that pitcher's sunk. You know, it's like, you can say the Astros are going to win in 4 or whatever, but like, honestly, as soon as that game starts, anything can happen. That's what I think.
Agreed. Ray, welcome back. You're all good
Thank you.
now?
Yeah, I'm good.
What's some of your thoughts? I don't know if you heard what we were talking about, Ray, but
Yeah.
we were basically talking about how the Phillies are across the board. Everyone's picking the Astros in 4 or 5 games. Sports betting wise, the Astros are almost negative 200 to win the series. Their odds have gone down since more money is going on the Astros. So even Vegas is making us more of a big dog than we are. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, obviously, the better team doesn't always win. On paper, yeah, you could say the Astros are a better team, but obviously, the better team doesn't always win. I thought, and a lot of people thought Atlanta was better than the Phillies, and they probably were. Padres on paper were better than the Phillies. They probably were, but not always the better team always wins. Right now, the Phillies have a tremendous amount of momentum going their way. And sometimes, a lot of times, I've been watching World Series since 1975, and the better team does not always win. So, and momentum has got a lot going on for the Phillies right now. A lot of teams don't want to play the Phillies, and I guarantee you, Houston's not looking at this lightly. So,
Yeah, that was the point that I brought up on the last live stream in regards to the Phillies. Like, if you look at the 2010 team and you look at the 2011 team, those teams were incredible. The pitching staff, the star caliber that the Phillies had, and both of those teams did not reach the World Series. The 2011 Phillies, they didn't even get to the championship series, and they won over 100 games. So sometimes it's just who gets hot at the right time and to keep it going and just to keep the momentum going. So I mean, if you even look at this particular playoff season, like, the Astros were the only top seed to advance. The Mets got bounced. The Braves got bounced.
Dodgers.
The Yankees, Dodgers, all the proverbial favorites, except for the Astros, got bounced. So you never know what's going to happen.
that's why they play the games, and that's why baseball, you never know what can happen in baseball, especially baseball.
Mike, what's some of your thoughts on being big dogs?
I don't know. I'm still trying to see if I'm in a dream, and I'm trying to wake up because it's like the biggest tease ever. No, it's been a crazy ride. It's been an insane postseason. I remember even like mid-September talking to a few people, and people would ask, they're like, "Do you even want the Phillies to make the playoffs?" I'm like, first off, that's a stupid question. Why would you not want them to make the playoffs? It's not like some draft lottery nonsense. And I was like, well, even if you get in and they don't do anything, we saw what it did in 2007. It built on for 2008 just to give that taste of postseason, get that experience. And I was like, and I remember at the time just talking about, I'm like, they literally beat every good team in the National League during the course of the year. The only team they struggled with was the Mets. The Mets crushed them this year. Every other team they had a winning record against that was a playoff contender outside of the Braves. And the Braves, they struggled a little bit towards the end. And really the problem with the Braves this year was Spencer Strider. They could not touch him in 3 or 4 starts during the regular season. And thankfully, they made up for that in the postseason. But I was like, you get in, like, you have a shot. So, of course, I want them to get in. And, like, I did think they had a chance to advance a little bit. Was I realistically expecting them to go to the World Series? Of course not. But it's been a great run, and like they're there. They have a shot. Like there's only 2 teams that can win the World Series this year.
Right.
Houston Astros, Philadelphia Phillies. Put it simply, if you play one game over 500 over the course of the next 7 games, like you win the World Series. So it's certainly possible. I just looked for Parks Casino. Their Astros for the series are minus 195. So they're a substantial favorite. And they should be. They've been in the World Series 4 times in the last 6 years. Their team ERA, I think, for the year is like 280 or something, 290, like under 3. It's incredible. Their bullpen's good. Their starting depth, staff-wise, their lineup's good. Like, they're a good team. That being said, the Phillies have been unbelievable in the postseason, so there's no reason to believe they can't find a way to make it happen. But with the Astros having what they have, I think, the Phillies probably have to do a little more and can get away with a little less. Like they're going to certainly need a few guys to click. You can't expect Harper to hit 400 again. I also would fully expect them to pitch around him to a degree or give him, I've seen a few things. I've watched a little bit here and there, and people are like defending the Josh Hader thing. And, whether you use him in that situation or not, one thing you can't do over the course of 5 games of a series is have your best pitcher throw 1 inning over 5 games. Like that's just asinine. I mean, I guess he'll be at full strength for April, which is great, but it didn't do him any good. So, we'll see what Dusty Baker and the Astros have in store there, but the Phillies bat's been swinging it, but I think they're going to need some contributions from Castellanos, Bohm, Stott, some of the guys towards the bottom of the lineup. And Stott had a lot of good at-bats, but he didn't have a ton of hits. Like I think they're going to need a little more production in this series. Because I don't know that you can expect the top guys to, continue to hammer home runs and hit 400 and such at every moment. But we'll see.
They got
22 and a half hours from now. We'll get our first taste of it.
They got away with that in the Padres series. The bottom of the lineup did absolutely nothing outside of Stott. Stott had some really critical key at-bats against the Padres and had some big moments for them by getting on base and prolonging innings. But like Marsh, Segura, Bohm, they didn't really have any moments. Or I think Marsh actually went like 0 for 16.
Yeah, he did.
Like he was really struggling, but it's a new series, so we'll see.
Hey, I'd take him at 0 for 16 as opposed to Odubel Herrera, who probably gotten picked off or done something silly in the outfield.
Especially in the outfield, yes, definitely.
Like on that last out, if he were in center field, he probably would have dove right into Castellanos' knee and had the ball drop.
Oh, I'm so glad we can laugh about that because that's probably what would have happened.
Sadly.
You also bring up a really good point, though, Mike, that I think is going to be a big storyline for this World Series. I think the Astros are definitely going to be pitching around Harper. So I think it's insanely important who's hitting behind Harper. So I'm thinking if Castellanos is going to be that guy, the amount of opportunities he's going to get with runners on base is just going to be crazy. I imagine almost every time he's going to come to the plate, he will have a runner on base because they're just not going to be pitching Harper the same way the Padres and the Braves and the Cardinals were pitching him. I'd be really surprised if they just straight up challenge him with the way he's swinging the bat.
I have a feeling they're going to flip him in Real Muto. I have a feeling he's going to hit third and Real Muto is going to hit fourth, but we'll see.
They already announced it.
Yeah.
They moved him up in the lineup to third.
Oh, they did? I
Yeah.
didn't even hear about that.
Yeah. It was on MLB Network this morning with Mark DeRosa and Laura Shahadi, and she had...
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, she had someone on. She said there's been some changes already in the lineups, and Harper's batting third to get him more at bats and better pitches to view. And guy confirmed it. Yeah, he's been moved up to third.
The Astros have no lefty relievers, so they're not worried about.
If that was mainly the reason with the lefty combination. They're going to still go with Schwarber and I think Hoskins, so they have that left, right, left kind of thing going on. But it's mainly because not so much to get him more bats, but they don't have a lot of left-handed pitchers.
Right. I mean, it's amazing to me that they've gotten as far as they have without Castellanos really contributing. Like, he's had a few moments. Like, he definitely had a great game. Was that against the Braves?
Yeah, the catch.
Yeah, he did really well against the Braves.
Had 3 hits.
Right. But it's been super sort of like feast or famine with him. And, I mean, if I'm the Astros, I'm going to try to exploit that. But we'll see.
Hopefully he works longer ABs, because that's kind of been a key to the Phillies' success, is just grinded out these at-bats, like coming back from being 0-2.
I'd also take some fly balls and just see what happens, because the ground balls to shortstop on the first pitch are killer sometimes once you get a guy on base.
That's been another crazy aspect of some of these moments the Phillies have been having. They're like a lot of these moments the Phillies have, that batter has been 0-2, and they just work themselves back into the count, either fouling pitches off, wasting good pitches, spitting on pitches, just working yourself back into the count, and then absolutely smashing the mistake pitch.
Right. I
mean, Harper's been a master of that, which is why he's whacking the shit out of the ball.
Yeah, he had 3 go-ahead RBIs in the NLCS, right? He had 3 of the game-winning hits, I think.
Yes, I believe so. And I think Hoskins, too.
Some of the goals, though, that they were on the previous shows is saying that the Phillies are going to have to be more aggressive and hit earlier in the count for this, because when you have Verlander, Framber, Valdez, Javier, especially with Verlander, who has that nasty curveball to strike you out on, and the Phillies are going to be most likely swinging earlier. They're not going to be working the count against Verlander.
I mean, Harper's only probably going to get a couple pitches per game, and it's probably going to happen in his first at-bat or 2. Yeah. So I think he's going to have to look in a certain place and be somewhat aggressive. But after that, I guess you're going to have to take some base runners, just add some guys on, and hopefully some of these guys come through.
Right.
To swing it back to this question, we have definitely been buying the Topps Now cards. In fact, I'm pretty much, I think, going to go broke buying all these Topps Now cards. me and Mike, Reese, I know. Ray, I think you picked up a couple as well. Alex, I'm not sure if you've been following along with the Topps Now cards, but pretty much any moment we've been snagging them up.
It took Castellanos all year to finally get a Topps Now card, so hopefully he'll get a few more.
It's a miracle.
So, game 1 starters. Aaron Nola, did they announce Houston yet? I'm sure it's Verlander.
Yeah, they announced Verlander.
Yeah.
The bigger question is who's going to be the game 3 or 4 starter. I'm assuming it's going to be Ranger Suarez, and then I'm thinking maybe Eflin.
Did I see somewhere that Verlander has lost every one of his starts so far this postseason?
Every one.
And Ray brought this up in our chat.
Not in the postseason, in the World
Series.
Sorry, in the World Series.
He's had 7 starts. He's 0-6 with a 5 ERA. This is going back.
Let's keep that going.
That's just going back to 2012 with Detroit. Now he hasn't gotten really raked, but he hasn't won not one game. So they said he's chomping at the bit to get his first win tomorrow night, but which is good that he's chomping at the bit,
right?
Because the negative on him is that for games like this, the reason why he's lost is that he gets too amped up. And when he gets too amped up, his fastball rises a little bit higher, and that's where he'll walk a batter or they'll swing down on him and just rake on him. So he gets a little bit amped up. So for that reason, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I know you said they're starting him game 1, but it might have been a thought to put him into game 2 to have him watch a game. because he's going to be amped. He's 0-6 in the World Series.
That's insane.
Granted, 2 of those games were 16 years ago.
Yeah, 2012.
Third decade, 3 different decades he will have pitched in a World Series. Hard to believe he's that old.
I mean, those stats in the World Series are just
they're terrible.
They're horrible.
Yeah, I mean, he did not pitch well against Seattle, who's kind of a young team, but a team that built on a lot of offense, a lot of hype going in. And then he pitched well against the Yankees, but like I told Ed before the series, the Yankees were toast. Like the Yankees are terrible at this point in the year. Like their pitching staff, their lineup was just fried. It was like Judge or nothing. Judge didn't have a good series, and they went out 1, 2, 3, 4. But he pitched well in that game. So let's hope we get more of that Seattle start.
Yeah,
and then hopefully we don't bring in Robbie Ray in the 9th inning.
Seattle played Houston way better than the Yankees when you look at it.
Yeah,
they went to 18 innings, 0-0. They just couldn't get any type of run. And then who knows? Maybe if they don't bring in Robbie Ray, who knows if the Astros move on? Because Seattle was hot. They were very hot going into the playoffs.
Yeah, that move sunk them.
The Verlander thing
that was demoralizing for them.
The Verlander thing is like Kershaw,
right?
In the playoffs, great regular season.
But he does have the hardware. He does have the hardware.
Just like, they both do. But
Sports Grunts asking, do you think the manager has made? Do you think the managers make a difference? Definitely in the Phillies case,
for sure.
They're night and day. I mean, under Rob Thompson, they are solely behind him. They are completely on board with him, and he's just gotten 110% out of every single player on the roster.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
he's confident. He's a confident guy, and he is real laid back.
Like every move he's made so far has been beneficial to the Phillies, and I said it on the last live stream. Like, I think managers are utmost important out of all the major sports. When you get to the big stage, the manager in baseball is just so insanely important. I mean, look at what the Bob Melvin, a lot of the decisions he made in the Phillies series by bunting with Trent Grisham in the 9th inning. That was just, I don't know what he was
against Suarez.
I was dumbfounded by that, and then only using Hader for 1 inning, and then Terry Francona not pitching Shane Bieber in an elimination game against the Yankees. So the manager is very important. You need the manager to make all the right moves, and sometimes a wrong move can be the difference.
I feel like Rob Thompson has like really helped me wrap my head around this team. Like, it's like I like the individual players, but I always had this feeling like this team doesn't make me feel like teams from the past do, in terms of like feeling unified. But once he was on board and you started to see them figure out how to win together, that to me like really solidified it. And like now, like, it's been really fast, but the way the team plays and the way they pull for each other feels like way more genuine. Like, it used to just feel like every guy was out there for himself. Whether that was true or not, I don't know, but it felt like that, and it feels much more like a unified team now.
Yeah, and they're definitely having fun, and just you see like the post game celebrations and stuff. Besides the fact that they got some wackos in there, guys like Garrett Stubbs and stuff. But like the way, but the way they like talk to Thompson, and Thompson like talks to them, the way they react to him, like he's like super beloved, and I think that goes a long way. It's just been such a weird playoff run because we know they've had talent, right? And it's like this World Series appearance is almost like the 93 team, except if you went to spring training and said the 93 team will get to the World Series or this team will get to the World Series, you'd absolutely take this team based on paper. Yeah. But the 93 team was obviously got off to the 7-1 hot start, and they were good all year. So it was like that season-long ride where this year, just like you were just waiting for him to get in, and it was to me, it felt really inevitable. I was never like, oh my God, they're not going to make the playoffs. Like I was a little concerned. I was like, all right, you guys got to get it. But they consistently had the little buffer because they had the tiebreaker over Milwaukee and San Diego, and they never fell behind them. So I always felt like they were going to get in September, even though they weren't playing as well as it could. But like since like they clinched there with 3 games to go or 2 games, I think were left after that. Like obviously it's just, I don't know, taken off, and it almost feels like has that 93 Phillies feel, but just compressed into the last like 3 weeks or so. So it's just flown by. It's just somewhat improbable, but yet you saw the talent, but it just kind of everything's just blended together perfectly, and it's been an amazing couple week run.
I was watching something where they were talking about like the extra wild card spot and the DH in the National League equals the Phillies in the World Series. Like if we didn't have those 2 things, we wouldn't still have Harper. Harper would have probably gotten surgery for his shoulder. He wouldn't have come back. And we wouldn't be in that final spot more than likely. It's crazy how it all worked out.
Yeah. Thank goodness for the baseball lockout. It worked out perfectly for them to get those things settled.
Right.
No, but that's 100% accurate though, Alex. Like if without the DH, Harper would have been shut down, like because of the injury to his elbow. See, he would not. There would be nowhere to play him because he can't throw the ball in his current state.
Right.
So it worked out. I think Mike. I don't know. I can't speak for Ray, but I know I definitely was not in favor of the DH coming to the National League when they were discussing that. I think, Mike, were you? I can't remember.
I mean, I used to be more opposed to it, but over the last couple of years, I think I was just kind of like, whatever. It was one of those things that just broke me down to the point where it's like, I like the traditional play, but I was all right with it. Like that was not something I was gonna, die on that hill.
Yeah, same here. I was like,
and now like I'm so used to it. Like it's just kind of whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being like kind of upset about it. Same thing. Like I liked the original way, the traditional way. And I always think about like, even though the majority of the time when the pitcher's batting, it's not terribly thrilling, there are those few moments where it's like, oh my God, that guy just hit a home run, like Joe Blanton in 2008, or like Brett Myers, like working the walk. Like those are so great, and you lose that. But at the same time, it's like I'd much rather have Bryce Harper hit a home run and win the series. That's so much better.
Will, here's a burning question for everyone. Will Hector Neris be a factor in this series?
I hope so.
He's been pretty good this year. And he was actually good for the Phillies last year for the most part. If he's a closer, he struggles. But I will say he's like the one guy, if I were the Astros and I'm in Philadelphia, I would love to avoid using him because the fans are going to
eat him alive.
Like the fans are going to go ballistic on the Astros, even though they don't play the Astros that often. I doubt most people really care that much about their issues of the last few years in terms of it having any effect on the Phillies, but fans are going to use that whole thing, and they're going to definitely heckle the hell out of Hector Neris.
Who's going to get it the worst, Neris, Bregman, or Altuve? Heckling wise, I mean,
I'm sure it depends on the situation, but the hitters are going to get it the most. Like it's just going to be non-stop, cheating chants and such. I expect to hear it on the television.
Will there be any inflatable trash cans at the game? Because they're going to show up. You know it, right? That's a given.
I hope so.
That's going to happen.
Definitely.
That's definitely going to happen.
I think what will really be interesting in the first 2 games are in Houston, right? Is like every Philly fan, especially those that are going to the games in Philadelphia, will be like looking for an opportunity, some Astro player does something or like, gets a little too cocky running around the bases or whatever, like that guy's going to get it in game 3. So we'll see.
And I think you'll see a decent amount of Phillies fans there for game 1 and 2.
Oh,
if it goes back and it goes to a game 6, there's going to be a shitload of Phillies fans because I'm pretty sure the Eagles play in Houston like the night before. So, like,
amazing.
How many people are going to go 2 for 1? Like, I can go see 2 games, both probably fairly affordable, at least compared to the tickets here in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like, people are going to go out and do their best to invade the place. So
that's what they were saying on the radio last Saturday, that for 3 days in a row, Philadelphia is going to be in Houston. Thursday, the Eagles are in Houston, and Friday, game 6, and potentially Saturday, game 7, the Phillies are there. So 3 days in a row, Philadelphia is in Houston.
So
2
great.
teams. 2 teams. That's just, think about that for a minute. That's really bizarre to have 2 teams in the same city for 3 days in a row. Possibly 3 days.
Everything's lining up.
Game 1 and 2 though are going to be. There's going to be a lot of Philly fans. It's not going to be like when the Cubs went to play Cleveland. That level of Cubs fans being there discrepancy, but there's going to be a lot of Philly fans for game 1 and 2 at Minute Maid. There's going to be a lot.
Why?
Just because of the ticket pricing,
right?
Like if in case anyone doesn't know, the price to go to the Phillies game for game 3, the cheapest ticket is $900 before fees. That's for a standing room only ticket.
It's
so
cheaper
that's not
to
even
fly.
For a seat.
Yeah,
that's not even to get a seat. $900 before fees. So
that's totally right.
It's insanely, ungodly expensive to go to any of the World Series games in Philadelphia. So everyone is going down to Houston since I think their cheapest ticket is about like $350.
Yeah,
$350.
That's crazy.
I mean, so you could get airfare, you could get hotel, maybe stay at a ranch.
That is insane. That's crazy. They were saying that today, that it's cheaper to fly to Houston and buy a ticket than buy one here.
It is.
It's cheaper. A lot cheaper, too. I'm like, oh, my God.
All right, guys, let's go.
We all should.
Yeah, dude, I'll go to Houston.
I do remember. I remember it was the same way back in 2008. And I already had tickets for the World Series because I had a full plan that year. And thankfully, the Phillies were good because I obviously couldn't attend every game. I was able to sell off tons of I would break it down, sell some to like family members and such. And then that was like the infancy of StubHub. But I still remember wanting to go and looking up like game 1 because games 3 to 5 were selling for like outrageous prices. And game 1 and 2 in Tampa, like you could get tickets as low as like $100. And I was like, dude, like, and Tampa at the time was a cheap flight and cheap hotels. Like you could have gone to the World Series for like $250. Like it was insane. But not every sports town is, hyped up as the Northeast is. So that's just the reality of it. And then with the Astros, even if they have a good fan base and such, like they've been there 4 of 6 times. So people are a little more likely to give up their tickets, to sell their tickets, to not feel like they have to go to a game. So, that makes more available and such. So
they have to be breaking records though on the secondary market for these World Series tickets though, because
I don't know, but they're certainly breaking merchandise records. I don't know
100 level though is like 3,500. Who's paying for these tickets? 3,500 for the 100.
There's always
level.
People paying. Same people are paying 20 grand for Jason Dominguez rookie card, first phone cards, and that kind of shit. Like there's always people out there just looking to spend money on something.
They are breaking records for merchandise. The MLB records are from Philadelphia. MLB after the postseason or league championship series ended, Philadelphia's broken all MLB records, and MLB, from what I was told, is so glad that Philly is in the World Series because they sell tons of merch. Now, granted, it's been since 2009. So that's could be part of the reason why lots of sales are up. It's been a while.
Yeah, we have to replace our hoodies, right?
Yeah, I mean, Houston's been in it 4 times in the past 6 years or something. So, but still, I think even
And the Padres
regardless-
would have had tough time selling too much apparel. They're yellow and brown. Plus those jackasses with their song. I just had
Yeah.
to mention those
yeah. Well, that's what's
those
in.
fools.
That was hilarious. I thought
That
it
might have
was
been
absolutely
that might have been the worst thing I ever saw in my life. Now I
It's
love it
easy.
because they beat them. But if oh my god, I was like, dude, these
That
guys
was
are
a
so
terrible
bad.
song.
If you go back to that video and you read the comments, like it's all Padre fans like wanting to disown those guys.
It's
Yeah.
like you're just asking for it because it's like, okay, you're going to play the Philadelphia Phillies. The fan
That's
base
what's
is
in.
going to just murder you. Like, how do you think you're
I
going to
would love to have seen those guys, at Citizens Bank, like walking by. Like they would have just taken the beating of their lives. And I was at game 5. I saw like 5 Padres fans. Like it was all Phillies. I saw one dude with a random Padres jersey on who was like with his buddy who was a Phillies fan. And then I saw like 4 guys in Josh Hader jerseys. So I don't know if they were like family that were disappointed they flew to Philadelphia and didn't get to see him pitch. I'm not sure, but
There was one Padre fan in our section, and he was wearing a Tatis jersey. And I shit you not, he went every inning, every half inning, he would go down the steps and go down to the concessions. This guy must have drank about 20 to 30 beers. Like
Wow.
there were this dude was stumbling and bumbling, walking up and down the steps, and he just progressively would drink more as the game went on. I'm like, my dude, his one friend that was with him had to help him down the steps at the end of the game.
dude, I go to a playoff game. The last thing I'm doing is going to the concession stand.
But he must have
Right.
spent at least maybe 300 to 400
Easily.
in beer. He probably wanted to forget because he that game. The Padres, it was 4-0 in the first inning. So he goes, and
But,
they were doing good, but then the Phillies came back.
think about that. Like, I'm going to go to a Phillies game and drink and get drunk and be surrounded by 45,000 Philadelphia fans. And you're asking to go to the emergency room. Like that's really dangerous.
The division series, there was a Braves fan in our section who actually got kicked out because he kept getting up every time and trying to do the chop. But he was just drawing so much attention to himself. So then you get the a-hole chant, asshole chants. They were serenading him with the asshole chants, and he's just putting his hands up like this, taking bows. I'm like, dude, this guy is craving attention. Do not give him the attention.
Right.
But he got thrown out. They threw his ass out.
So I like the decision of going with Nola in game 1. I really do. I think that's a really smart move because I think they actually have a chance of taking both games in Houston. As I know it's homerish, but if Wheeler started game 1, I would have had the Phillies win in game 1, and then Houston definitely win in game 2 from a bounce back victory. But with Nola going in game 1, he's coming off. We clinched the playoff spot in October 3rd, and Nola was in Houston pitching that game. So I think Nola is well rested, and I think he's really going to catch them off guard in game 1, sleeping and winning game 1, and then game 2, Wheeler's a lock. So
That's what's in.
That's what's in. So I really believe that they could take the first 2 games. And then the third game is the first game in Philly. Those fans are going to be insane on that game. So I got a broom. That's what I'm calling for.
Wow.
I really am calling for.
My boy Ray got a broom.
I got a broom.
Todd Callis said you're crazy.
I'm hoping you're right, Ray. I'm not going to expect that. But,
When they beat San Diego, I had the Phillies in 6 or 7. As the week has gone on, and I haven't really watched that many preview stuff, but what got me to change my mind is them going to Nola in game 1. Just that little change got me to think, totally changing my prediction from 6 to sweep, because I really, really think that Nola's going to win game 1, and Wheeler is a lock. I don't care who they throw out there. He's the hottest pitcher in the National League right now. There's no doubt about it. I just can't. I could see them taking it all like easily. Really do.
Any concern though about Wheeler with the line drive?
No. The first thing I thought of was in '93. The Phillies were playing the Braves, and Greg Maddux got hit.
Yeah.
And that affected him. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, God, Greg Maddux. Because he got lit up by the Phillies after. That definitely affected him. I don't think this affected Wheeler at all. And that was part of the reason why Topper put Wheeler to Saturday, Game 6, to give him an extra day rest on getting hit. But if that's the case, then yeah, we could lose both games. If Nola could lose Game 1 and Wheeler could be nicked up in the leg, and the total opposite could happen. So I don't know, but they're giving me the impression that he's fine.
I mean, in the perfect world, I would feel more comfortable with Wheeler going Game 1 because I think he's been more consistent given that strong start. He very rarely has, a rough outing where he gives up 3-4 runs, whereas Nola is a little more prone to potentially doing that. I mean, last time he faced the Astros, he was brought a no-hitter into the 7th. So
yeah,
he's certainly capable of dominating as well. But I mean, either way, those two guys, I think in Houston, I think it's pretty important for them to find a way to, at a minimum, obviously split that. Obviously, they're not must wins.
Oh yeah,
but they gotta, you really want to split that and then try.
Yeah, absolutely.
Try and win 2 of 3 at home at least, because that Game 4, again, anything can happen, and we saw it worked out fine for them in San Diego. But I don't feel as good with the bullpen game against Houston, just because they're not going to throw Mike Clevenger type of guy out there. Like they have like 5 or 6 guys who can easily go 5, 6, 7 innings. I don't see most of their starters getting, pulled in the 2nd or 3rd. Maybe McCullers could have some issues or something. He obviously can be on, but maybe not as consistently effective.
Yeah, I would be thrilled if they if they split. I got sweep on my mind. Yeah. I would be thrilled if they split the first 2 games in Houston. I would love that, but
that would be the goal. I think that would be incredible. I mean, I'm just hoping that, like Mike said, I'm just hoping they at least get one out of that, because then you take the home field advantage away. I mean, that's been the key to their success so far.
And I feel better about Game 1, I think. I think Framber Valdez is probably more tough than Verlander, even though Verlander is going to go down as a Hall of Famer. Valdez has been really, really good this year. I think he might give them a little more difficulty as opposed to Verlander, but we'll see. You never know.
How many innings, are the Philly fans going to put up with that rocket back and forth motion from him before they're going to really throw him out the ballpark with that rocking back and forth motion? It drives me insane. Goes back.
Luis Garcia is the worst with that.
Yeah.
I think another question a lot of people are going to have, the pressing question probably at the YouTube card community and probably the general baseball audience as a whole: will there be a stolen base for free tacos from Taco Bell? Will anyone on the Phillies or Astros steal a base?
Yeah, I would think it's safe to assume at some point someone will steal a base. Though the Phillies haven't run a ton. I think Schwarber had 2 in the NLCS, right?
Real Muto, I thought, had one.
He might have had one, but Phillies, I feel like, didn't have a ton of singles. They just kept mashing home runs, so I guess they got to have a few base hits.
Philly in 4, yeah.
That's the prediction.
None of us, so far as of right now, none of us are going to any of the World Series games. We all entered the lottery, and we got the Dear John letter from the Phillies saying that none of us
got the letter of false hope. World Series ticket opportunity. Click, and then it's like, oh, you sons of bitches.
Although I did hear 2 people at my job today did get the call, and they scored Game 5 tickets. 2 people.
Probably pricks who haven't been to a game in 8 years, aren't they?
I don't know.
Probably. It's the way it seems to be working.
young guys definitely. They email me and say I scored a ticket, and so did so and so. 2 people. I was like, wow. I said, not me.
That's not what's in.
Yeah, it's not what's in.
Yeah, but the Phillies worded that email like if you entered the lottery. By the way, over 1 million people entered
Wow.
that lottery. 1 million people, over 1 million people entered the World Series Phillies ticket lottery. Just think about how mind-numbing that is.
How many hundred thousands of those entries were you, Ed?
Only one. There was 20,000 tickets they gave away. So someone do the math. What was the percentage of getting that out of a million?
How many tickets was it?
20,000 they gave away through the lottery.
Like 0.002.
I think it's like 2%.
See, that's the thing. The first 2 rounds weren't difficult to get tickets to because they had like their season ticket base has been decimated since the combination of playing poorly, but also COVID and all that. So many people dropped it
Right.
that it was easy to get those first few rounds because people weren't going crazy for them. But once the World Series came, like the Astros get an allotment, MLB gets an allotment, the Phillies get an allotment. The season ticket people had their pre-sale stuff, so I knew there wasn't going to be a crazy amount available.
That's why the secondary market is so crazy too.
And the ticket brokers who do still exist, like they probably had, 50 interns sitting there filling out forms 8 hours straight. So,
Yep.
Over 1 million, man. Over 1 million. That's wild. Ray, how many did you fill out?
A few.
but if anyone wants to see the Phillies win a home game, get me a ticket because Phillies 2-0 all time in World Series games I've attended. So
That's a pretty good stat.
not going to matter if you're not there.
I mean, everyone's got Houston. I mean, Altuve's done nothing. Altuve.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, I mean, Verlander's 0-6 in World Series play, and Altuve's hitting like minus 100. He's doing nothing.
First guy with a negative batting average in baseball history.
Yeah, he's doing zilch. I think he's 3 for, I don't know, 29 or something like that.
I mean, I feel like the Astros haven't done a ton offensively, but they haven't had to. At least, I mean, that Yankee series wasn't particularly close. Obviously, they had the big comeback against Seattle in that first round. Alvarez was fantastic in the first round. Jeremy Pena was really good in the previous, in the LCS. So they've only needed a few guys to this point.
Pena's been really good, taking over for Carlos Correa. He's been,
And their bullpen's got like a
He torched the
0.8
Yankees.
ERA or something ridiculous. They've given up nothing.
No, they went into an 18-inning game against the Seattle Mariners, and 18. That's like 2 whole games worth. And they didn't give up a run. Jesus. Something's gonna break. Are the Phillies bats going to stay hot? They going to start bopping homers, or are these Astro pitchers just going to keep dominating?
I don't know. I think it's going to get off to a slow start offensively because they've had 5 days off, 4 days off.
I don't know. Sometimes this team is fun to watch when they're up against a really strong pitcher and they're good at working the count and they're good at just trying to manufacture something. And sometimes it's like a Nick Castellanos at bat, up and down the lineup, just swinging at the first pitch and grounding out to short.
U-ball, ground out.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would be a cool game for Stove to play during the World Series to go live and on the Cardboard Podcast. They will do a live U-ball session. Bryce Harper, definitely not ground out. We're going home run.
Not at all.
Bryce Harper contract was pretty good. I know there were some talking heads on YouTube about 3-4 years ago saying it was the worst contract in baseball history. I don't know how that was a statement someone would make at the time. That seems like a silly statement, but it's been pretty good to this point. Just had to throw that out there.
I'm sure that person is definitely not watching.
There's no shot in hell they're watching, but I don't know how much baseball they watch to begin with.
But for Houston, besides of course Yordan Alvarez, which we talked about, they're going to pitch around Harper. I think the Phillies are probably going to be pitching around Yordan Alvarez as well. Sure. Other than him, who else? I mean, I would say Bregman has had a pretty. Decent...
Bregman's. I feel like he's hit a ton of home runs in the postseason in his career, relative to what he does in the regular season. He's like a 20, 25 homer guy during the regular season. I feel like he's got like 15, 20 postseason home runs in his career. I mean, Kyle Tucker is pretty good too. He's kind of an under the radar player, but that dude's a good baseball player.
They were doing a position by position today on MLB Network. You know, like first base, Gurriel, Hoskins. Who would you guys put an edge to on that? Gurriel versus Hoskins.
Right
well,
now,
Gurriel's a better defensive player, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
He's a more consistent average hitter, but
everybody is.
He's not a big, power guy, generally speaking. But yeah, Hoskins has been really good lately, and he's hot and cold. So hopefully we stay on that hot streak.
Right now, Segura versus Altuve. We just said Altuve's done nothing.
But I would still give the edge.
They need more from Segura right now, but he's been contributing over the postseason.
And
they could use a few balls in the gap from him. They could use a couple extra base hits out of Segura.
Stott versus Pena, I definitely take Pena. Bregman versus Bohm.
Bregman gets that edge for sure. But hopefully, Bohm's another guy. Hopefully he kind of gets it together. You get some of those 3-hit games he was doing there for a while. You just need singles, get guys on base, get traffic on the base, kind of keep the line moving.
Yeah.
Jordan's playing left, right? He's not the DH. Is he playing left field or the DH? Jordan Alvarez.
I feel like he's been playing the outfield for the most part, I believe.
Right. So between that and Schwarber in left field, Schwarber's 46 bombs.
Yeah.
McCormick in center field versus Marsh. Marsh is a great defensive player.
Man, I'm so glad he's out there.
Yeah. What a difference. I mean, offensively, I would really love to see him do something offensively. I don't think he got a hit. I really don't think he got a hit against San Diego. I think he went an over.
No, he didn't.
Yeah,
he did have that big homer against the Braves, though.
Yeah.
He's capable.
Got to do something hitting wise.
Well, I feel like Veerling will start game 2.
Yeah, definitely. I think so too. Kyle Tucker's all right, but they gave the edge to Castellanos over Kyle Tucker, which I don't know if I would agree with that.
I'm pretty sure whoever did that hasn't watched a whole lot of Phillies games.
Yeah, they just looked at averages.
They were going by because the veteran, Tucker's in his second year.
I mean, Kyle Tucker played in the World Series last year. I would.
Yeah, I agree.
Given the choice, I would give Tucker Tucker a big advantage. Not to say Castellanos could go off. Like, he's been due. I tell Ed this all the time. I'm like, he's been due since opening day. Like he had a dog shit year. He's had a horrendous year.
He had a terrible year.
He had a really good game there against the Braves, but they signed him to a 5-year deal in excess of $100 million to hit 25 to 35 homers, to not only do that, but have 35 to 50 doubles. Like, he's had big years like that, to hit close to 300, if not above, knocking 100 runs. And he had 13 homers, 60 RBIs, hit 260. And people are like, oh, he battled injuries. I'm like, bullshit. He had injuries in September. He just wasn't good. I'm not trying to crush the guy, and he's got a few years and you hope he gets it together next year. But he's out. He's just literally been due. He has not had 2 or 3 good games in a row all year. Maybe it happens now, and then we all become Nick Castellanos super collectors.
I was going to say, all this is irrelevant if he has a huge World Series.
No, I'm just making that point.
We'll build a statue of the guy.
I'm just saying, anyone who would go, oh, I'll give him the advantage over Tucker. I'm like, if you watched any games
Watch
or even looked at baseballreference.com. Like it doesn't,
I think they were just
and I
going
feel,
by.
and I think I heard that same thing, right? But I was just
Yeah,
like,
they
I
were
don't know
going
what
by.
you're
It
talking
was.
about.
I watched a lot of it this morning. I think the guy. I mean, I was shocked. I was like, "Wow, Tucker hit 30 homers," but I think they're saying that this year with Castellanos was an off year, and hopefully in the World Series he turn around. If he does turn it around, he does have better numbers than Tucker. Last year he hit 317 with 34 homers. He's
Yeah,
that
he was
kind of a
awesome
hitter.
last year.
Yeah, he was a beast last year.
So if he could be that kind of a player, he is a better player than Tucker. So I understood the guy's philosophy. And being that he's also been in the league 10, 12 years, I understood that. Didn't agree with it, but I understood what he was coming from.
Well, we'll see what happens. It can be unlikely heroes. I feel like Steve Pierce was like MVP of the World Series one year, wasn't he? For like
Yes,
Boston.
for the Red Sox.
Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of random guys like that. So
Steven
Unsung,
Strasburg.
You never know.
Yeah. Ed's favorite player, Cody Ross.
Oh man,
That
was
fucker.
he World Series MVP too? I know he was NLCS.
I don't
but-
think he was. I don't think he was World Series MVP. Who was the Giants World Series MVP?
That year was a 10.
It was 2010.
Probably Posey.
It was probably some random.
Posey or Bumgarner, because Bumgarner had a great World Series.
Matsui in 2009. That was also painful.
Yeah, he wrecked us in that
Yeah,
series.
he only played like a couple games. Edgar Renteria in 2010.
I told you it'd be a random.
Let's see. Last year, Jorge Soler, who would have had that? Corey Seager the year before makes sense. Steven Strasburg, because he pitched them to the World Series. Juan Soto had the time of his life, and now his career's just about over. Steve Pierce in 2018, random. George Springer 2017. Ben Zobrist in 2016 for the Cubs. I feel like a lot of people would forget that. Salvador Perez for Kansas City. Mad Bum for the Giants. Ortiz, Sandoval. So it's like hit or miss. Like David Freese obviously had a crazy postseason run.
Yeah.
In 2011. So he carried over his hot hitting.
That's Ray's favorite player, I think.
From
outside
Philadelphia and beyond.
Well, let's pick our MVPs if the Phillies win.
Jermaine Dye in 2005.
Ed, you picked Hoskins for the NLCS, and dude, you got real close, man. I thought he would have pulled up.
I think he might have won if Harper doesn't hit that homer.
Yeah, I totally agree.
He was mashing in the CS.
Me and Mike.
I'm pretty sure all four of his hits were home runs, weren't they?
Yeah. Who did you pick again, Mike? In the last video?
I don't remember. I don't even know if I said anyone.
No, you did. We both picked Harper.
You might have picked Harper. You might have had it.
I know I picked Harper, and I said my second choice was Schwarber. I thought Schwarber was because he was due because he didn't have a great Atlanta series. So I said Harper or Schwarber. But
you know who we got to give the shout out to though, from the last video in the comments, Rob's Cards, the Mets fan. Oh my God, go back to the video and look at some of his comments. Right on the money every time, smacking it out of the park every time with his comments. He had the MVP. He had Schwarber. He had like almost every single call right in the comments. He's beasting it.
The nice thing about that last series was that there were, like, once Harper had the go-ahead home run, which ended up being his third game-winning hit of the series, he was a lock to win it. But like before that, Hoskins was in consideration because of what he had done, the big home runs, the number of home runs. Schwarber was in it because of his average and the fact that he had several home runs. Wheeler, if Wheeler is able to stay in the game a little longer, if the ball isn't, shooting out of Sir Anthony's hand while it's pouring rain, he could have had two wins and like a ERA under 1. So he would have been under consideration. So there were a bunch of key contributors. And if you get that many key contributors in this series, then you're looking at a potential series victory for the Phillies. So hopefully they can do that.
I agree with Ground Chuck here. I'm going to go with Gene Segura. I think that's a good call. I feel like Gene's sort of like just on the cusp of getting it together offensively. I think he's going to be it.
They got to throw him some pitches low and outside so he can just put the bat on the ball and just shoot him in the right field.
That's what we need. We need those kind of crazy hits, those like junk ball hits.
I'm going to go really outside the box. I know last time I was really outside the box and had both Ray and I had everyone, Ray, Mike, and B-Roff shocked at my pick, but I'm going to go, if the Phillies win, I'm going to go real far outside here and say Bryson Stott for the MVP.
That's not a bad pick.
Because my thinking on that is I think he's going to get a lot of opportunities with runners on base. He's a left-handed hitter, and the Astros don't. I think they only have one left-handed relief pitcher. So
he's zero, I believe, unless they put Will Smith on the roster, which I doubt they will.
Okay, so he's going to be having favorable matchups. He won't have to go lefty-lefty. So I'm going to go with Stott.
That's a great pick, Ed. Stott, I think, is like one of my favorite guys to watch in an at-bat right now. Like, he just seems like he's got a plan, and it's amazing as a rookie. Like, he's got a good eye. He's fouling stuff off. He's just trying to work with what is being thrown, and I just like watching his at-bats. I think there's a really good shot he's going to get something and do something with it.
Some of those like balls he either pulls down the line or loops the other way down the line, like remind me of Mickey Morandini, some of the hits he used to have, where he would just rip one into the corner, which he did in the postseason. So something tells me Ed has a sizable Bryson Stott portfolio that he's trying to pump right now.
I need to pick up a couple of his autos, but now's not the time because obviously, being on the big stage, being in the playoffs, all the Phillies autographs are going crazy. I'm waiting for all the influencers to post all the Harper Pump videos. Those are coming. Get ready for that, boys. YouTube going to get flooded with Harper Pump videos.
I feel like most of the pumpers have, retired from sports card investing right now. I feel like I don't see those videos too much, or maybe I blocked them all. I'm not sure.
Yeah, right. I wasn't subscribed in the first place, so I don't know.
Ray, who's your MVP? Come on.
Well, I don't think it's going to be Harper because of what we discussed in the beginning, where he's going to get pitched around. Although I do think he's going to do some damage. I don't think he'll have more than one homer in this year. He might get two, but he'll definitely have one. I'm looking at the pitching matchups, and a lot of these pitchers are high throwers, and I'm trying to think of who's the best high hitter. And Ed, I'm going with your boy from the NLCS. I'm going to take Rhys Hoskins. I think he's going to continue and mash 3 bombs in this series, strictly because Verlander likes to throw them high, Framber likes to throw them high, and our best high pitch hitter, and I hate to say it, is Rhys Hoskins. So I think Rhys Hoskins is going to have I don't think he's going to get a ton of hits, but I think he's going to have almost a similar World Series that he had in the NLCS. So I'm going with Hoskins.
If Hoskins is indeed the MVP and has an incredible World Series, where will Derek Hall be hitting homers for next year? The Pirates or the Orioles?
Phillies. No. I don't know.
Definitely not the Phillies, I'll tell you that.
Probably right.
If Rhys Hoskins wins World Series MVP, I promise everyone out there I will make a video bashing Wesker Griff for his transgressions of bashing Rhys Hoskins over the course of the last year or two.
It's so bizarre. But
most of those might have been in private messages. They might not be on YouTube, so people
they're all in private
about.
It's weird though, because every time I go to a Phillies game, every time I'm physically in the building, I know it doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. But every time I am in the building, he goes off. It's like when MikeO is in the building when Joey Votto is there. Like every time,
that son of a bitch does homer every time I'm there.
Like Joey Votto, absolutely.
Didn't he hit 2 in Chicago at the National?
He hit 2 in Chicago at the National when it was in Chicago. He's just a masher. But for whatever reason, like Rhys Hoskins gets alerted to my presence, and he just goes in total beast mode.
Ed, you've got 24
I
hours.
feel like he,
Get down to Houston. You can make it. There's time.
when he did the bet spike, I honestly was like, dude, he probably watched a Wesker Griff video this morning and was just slammed it and pretended he was throwing it in your face. All right, so
He
we
hit
got to
2
start.
homers.
We got to start a GoFundMe. We got to start a GoFundMe very soon to get Ed to games 1, 2, 3, 4, and beyond. That way, Reese will go ballistic, and we'll just get some money back on betting Hoskins homers.
I've never seen a player who's been such a big lightning rod for the Phillies in the NLCS than Hoskins was. He made such unbelievable, terrible defensive plays, and yet came up so big with the bat. And I think that's another reason why I'm going to go with him, because a guy that can bounce back from getting crucified from making some bad. I wanted him going like that day, real bad. I was like, this guy's awful at first base. I think he's so in tune right now with his hitting and he loves to chase those high fastballs. I think he's going to hit 3 bombs. Probably that's his only 3 hits, but those 3 bombs are going to be huge.
My favorite.
Steven Sports going with the 100-1 MVP.
Brandon Marsh.
I'd love for Brandon Marsh to be the MVP. That'd be incredible.
It's usually an obscure. A lot of times it's like an obscure kind of player. Could be a pitcher. Could be Wheeler.
Might be. Who's starting game 4? What's your thoughts on that? I know I mentioned it earlier, but who is?
It's going to be either Syndergaard or
Syndergaard.
Gibson. There's no shot they're going to put Falter back out there.
No, I think it's going to be Syndergaard.
Yeah.
He's got your most experience. Falter's a rookie in a World Series. Although I'm not going to bring up this year again because you guys love when I bring up this year, but
1980,
game 1, Bob Walk, game 5,
greatest
Marty
year ever.
They started 2 rookie pitchers, so it's not impossible they don't start a rookie again. But I wouldn't. I would go with Syndergaard for him, and if he can get you 3-4 innings and then you bring in some bullpen guys, I'm fine with that. And that's why I think having Wheeler in game 2, you could have him at 2-6 or 2-7. At the end, it'll work out better that way.
Yeah, I don't even think Bailey Falter is going to make the roster. The Phillies didn't announce the roster yet, but I can't see him making it. I was in the ballpark when he started. He just did not have it at all. He couldn't even.
He got the first 2 outs, right? And then after that, just
fell apart.
couldn't get anyone out.
Yeah, the announcers kept saying he didn't even get an out. I'm like, he got 2 outs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'll feel comfortable with him as a lefty specialist. So, I mean, I guess Alvarado is going to be the guy they use late in the game against Alvarez / Tucker.
I mean, your bullpen guys are going to be Alvarado, Sir Anthony, Eflin, and Dave Robinson.
I feel pretty good with 2 of those guys.
Which 2? Sir Anthony and
the
Alvarez.
2 guys who actually throw really hard and pretty nasty, and for the most part haven't gotten hit. That game 5, they weren't like super crisp, but it was also crappy conditions. Robertson was driving me nuts in game 5. Like, he got the first out, the ballpark's going crazy, and then he just walks to 2 straight guys. I'm like, it's one thing if you just groove one and the guy hits a double in the gap, but like, keep walking these guys. I'm like, come on, dude, you're 39 years old, veteran. Like, you can't be walking these guys. But thankfully,
did you shout anything?
Suarez came and did well. No, I was just frustrated. I had screamed at Soto that game, and just screamed it.
What did you
in terms
scream?
Of cheering? I probably a lot of expletives.
This
Definitely
is
something
not a
about
monetized channel. You can
something
say
about
whatever.
sitting the hell down. That's for sure. Dude, Soto stinks, dude. He's horrible. He had a horrible year. There's no I'm not saying he's obviously 23, but he had a dog shit year. And anyone who says otherwise this year was not watching the games. The Padres gave up so much. He did nothing for them in the regular season. Yeah, he had a few home runs in the playoffs, but he wasn't great. He just complaining and shuffling around so much. I don't know. He needs to have a big year next year. Otherwise, I think he will spiral downward because passing on $400 million brings on more and more pressure. The less and less consistent success you have. So we'll see.
He should have took that offer, Mike.
I thought it was interesting. One small tidbit about Soto that I thought was interesting was during the Phillies celebration, he was the only Padres player sitting on the bench watching. I thought that was kind of look unique, I guess.
I feel like I saw Blake Snell watching too, but he's probably like, "Damn, I shouldn't have broke Harper's hand. Look what happened. Made his thumb stronger."
Well, you said about Soto didn't do anything in it. I was surprised. I thought Bell did a lot better than I thought, but they said
Josh Bell's pretty good. He was good against the Phillies at least this year.
Yeah.
Back when he was still with, I guess he was with Washington. He didn't he have a 2-homer game against them?
Yeah, but
he was honestly the one who scared me like the most almost at times in that series.
Is this Phillies team the worst defensive team to make a World Series?
I don't know if it is statistically, but it's got to be up there.
Feels like it, right?
I'm sure there was.
I mean, they've shored things up a little bit. They're obviously Hoskins is a massive liability. Segura usually doesn't make the errors he did in that series. I mean, Bohm's kind of hit or miss. He'll make great plays and then, make a bad throw or drop one that he shouldn't. But I feel like the addition of Marsh has helped significantly.
Yeah, totally.
Yes. I hope there's no soul-crushing errors in this game, in this series. That would be horrible.
Oh, yeah, me too. And yet they might have 2 Gold Glove Award winners on this team.
Yeah.
They were saying that it's going to be most likely Real Muto, and the other guy won't get it because he didn't pitch enough. Ranger Suarez, yeah, should get a Gold Glove because he's that good. Thank God, and it makes sense with that bunt that Grisham laid down. Who was the one that went after the ball and got it and threw a perfect ball was Ranger Suarez.
Right.
So, but he doesn't have enough innings, but he said he is the best fielding pitcher out there. So it's weird how we have liabilities in some positions and yet Gold Gloves in other positions. Strange. So I wouldn't say they're the worst because we do have Marsh is good and Real Muto is great. Bohm, I got to tell you, I was a big basher on Bohm a year ago, but at third base, his defensively has really improved. And I don't understand why they're bringing in Sosa for defensive purposes when everything I've seen him do, he's been scooping up. Now, that play he made the second on the double play, I think that was a tough play to make. It was a wide throw, but for the most part this year, he scooped up a lot of ground balls.
I think it's also been the combo of pinch running / defensive replacement.
Yeah.
Sosa's really good defensively.
He's fast, yeah.
Bohm is fairly slow. You don't always realize it, but there have been a few times I'm watching, damn, he is slow for a 25-year-old.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Sosa could have a moment in this series,
I love that dude.
Yeah, he's so great. In that first game against the Cardinals, when he scored, what was it, the second run maybe in that 6-run inning? That was such a great slide. And I was so glad they had him. It's that's the moment for that guy. Just a key play where his speed and his defensive ability makes all the difference.
Does he only play third base, or does he play other positions as well?
They've had him at shortstop, I know.
Yeah,
I don't know if they ever did second.
Mike's MVP, I haven't heard yet.
I don't know, man. Part of me is maybe Real Muto will step up, and then I have that temptation to be yeah, Castellanos, he's been due since April.
Yeah, say Castellanos. I picked Rhys Hoskins last time, and you know my history with him, so you pick Castellanos. He'll go off.
I don't believe it, but I will pick Nicholas Castellanos.
All right.
There we go. Nicky C.
Yeah. It's all right.
That'd be amazing. If he's MVP, well, obviously, if any Phillies MVP, it's a good thing. But if he were to actually start, having some extra base hits, that would go a long way for this team.
My default text for Castellanos is, if he actually, gets a hit or whatever, is, "Hey, Nick did something." That's my reaction. That's how it's been all season.
Yeah.
That'd
know.
be cool if Nick Castellanos was the MVP, because then Jim Salisbury would have to answer some questions.
Yeah.
He's been on him all
It
year.
would be a great, post game press conference. Like, oh, Nick, how's it feel? He'll just be like,
Feels good.
I hit the ball. We won. Yeah, he's like his opening press conference when they signed him. I was like, dude, you're giving absolutely no quotes here. These Raiders are gonna hate you.
Yeah.
Who's throwing out the
Best
first
talking
pitch
guy.
at Citizens Bank Park? Is it Utley? Who's it going to be? Charlie?
I feel like Schmidt and Carlton are in line for one.
No, I heard Utley can't do it because
He's
he's
a
in
Dodger, right?
England. No, he's
Plus
in
he works for the
England.
Dodgers.
No, he's in England.
Why?
Oh,
he
that's
is
right.
MLB's
Yeah.
representative in England. He's the #1 representative for MLB in England. So
Well,
he's in
England doesn't care about the NFL. I don't think they give a shit about baseball. So why are these
He's in
guys
England.
still wasting their time?
You'll like that one, Ray.
I would love Pete Rose, but after the last time he was here,
Yeah, that was rough.
Have him in the booth with John Smoltz and Joe
oh
Davis.
man, is that who's calling
National
the World Series
TV,
again?
baby.
John Smoltz. Oh man,
I assume so. It's on Fox, right?
He's done, Brian, coming back. He got himself in a lot of hot water when he came
last
back.
time he was here was pretty bad. Well, in the League Championship Series, they had a lot of 08 players. I saw Victorino, I saw Worth, Ryan Howard was there. So I'm thinking it's got to be.
I mean, could they have Hamels because he's an MVP? Hamels and Schmidt because they're both MVPs.
I was like, they didn't have anybody from 80. They should have Schmidt, Carlton.
Manny Trio, get him.
Well, I would say you got to have the GOAT, greatest Philly of all time. And I mean, come on.
Don Money.
I just bought a Don Money PSA 6 slab.
Bobby Shantz.
I bought that solely because of Don's Field of Dreams. Don said that Don Money was the best Phillies third baseman, so I had to buy it.
Can't argue with that.
For the 3 games in Philly, if we have 3 games, I would have no problem with Kruk, Schmidt, and Hamels.
Could be Rollins if they're going to go with another 08 guy.
Yeah, or Rollins. Rollins would be another.
As long as they don't pull a Jason Worth and fire a ball at 85 miles per hour at Harper, who doesn't even have a mask on. Like, what are you doing?
That was insane, man.
I was sitting up in the upper deck. I'm like, Jesus, he fired that thing. And he didn't even give a warning. It's not like he just walked up there and just fired it. Like, God damn.
Pat the bat.
Oh, I forgot it. Wait, no, he threw out a pitch already.
Yeah.
Plus, he's a bum. He's a World Series winner with the Giants. They should throw his ass out of the Wall of Fame.
Dude, Pat Burrell is an absolute legend.
1 hit, 2 World Series rings.
In other ways.
One for 27 in the World Series.
He got all his hits off the field, my man.
Good for him.
And he provided the mascot.
There's conspiracy theories that he fathered half the city.
Probably
true. The modern day Will Chamberlain.
You know who else I'm thinking about? We didn't even think about Charlie Manuel.
Yeah. I could see that.
I could totally see
Uncle
Charlie Manuel. Yeah. I could totally see. He's so beloved in this town. I could totally see Charlie.
What about Cole Hamels?
I would love to see him.
Where Cole Hamels at?
Maybe they'll sign Hamels so he can pitch for him out of the pen. He could take Bailey Falter's spot.
He's never officially announced his retirement.
He signed with the Dodgers last year, and he got hurt. He never actually pitched for him.
Yeah, well, he did. I know he signed with the Braves. He pitched 1 game.
Yeah, that was 2020, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, definitely.
So what about did you see the Twitter poll they tried to put up? What mascot do you have? Orbit or the Fanatic? What a stupid question.
That's not serious, is it?
Come on. No context.
I feel like no real even Astros fan would pick Orbit, would they? Did anyone know his name was Orbit?
Nope.
I didn't even know they had a mascot.
He was the one banging on the trash cans, right?
God, there's going to be so many inflatable trash cans at CBP.
Did you guys see Jalen Hurts getting ripped on social media?
Why? What he
That's
does?
that's what you get for wearing an Astros hat.
Wearing an
They
Astros
should-
hat,
They should bench his
Astros-
ass. He's the next Carson Wentz.
Astros shirt, Astros hat. He's from Houston, so I don't have a problem with that. I'm like,
Yeah, but why would he do that? Come on, Jalen.
I know, but Allen Iverson used to do that. He used to wear in press conferences, and everybody loved Iverson. I didn't have a problem with that. The dude's from Houston, so
He is from Houston?
I'm pretty sure they said he's from Houston. I didn't look it up, but he probably could be from Detroit, and then I would have a problem with it. I'd be like,
I
dude,
feel
what
like
are you doing?
I feel like the pictures are also from like a year ago too that people were bashing him about.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
That's almost as bad as the time that Dominic Brown wore all Cowboys gear.
That's bad. Where to count? I don't care if you're
Maybe
born in
Dominic
Texas.
Brown should throw out the first pitch. He was
There
rated
you go.
higher on the prospect list than Mike Trout.
That's one thing.
Maybe
don't
Mike
wear.
Trout could throw out the first pitch.
Yeah,
Oh,
get him to
God.
the playoffs finally. Get Mike Trout to the playoffs. Let him throw out the first pitch.
I bet you he's crying he didn't sign with us now.
Well, Bryce Harper almost got in trouble with MLB a couple years ago for the probing thing where he was trying to
Collusion.
recruit him. Mike Trout likes going to the Eagles games in October. He don't want to go to the playoffs.
We could have a bunch of players from the past 10 years that never panned out. Cody Ashe could throw out the first pitch.
Oh, fuck no. Get him away from the stadium.
Nicky Moniak, wasn't he in the stands?
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
was.
when
That
he
was
was
cool.
LCS
That
games
was
or
real
something?
cool.
That was really cool. He
Yeah.
was with his family.
Dude, if they win, he'll get a ring, I think.
So
Yeah.
will Joe Girardi.
Yeah.
Yep.
So does DD.
Do they have to give Odubel Herrera a ring though?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Can they
Yeah,
withhold that?
I could lose it in the mail.
Yeah, we shipped it. We got tracking.
The last time the Phillies won the World Series, they gave a ring to everyone, all the workers, even Cotton.
Yeah, I remember Adam Eaton talking about how he helped them win that World Series. It's like, yeah, you did go 2-4 before you were removed from the rotation and eventually outrated off the roster.
Sylvester
Rocky
Stallone.
Balboa is throwing out the first pitch. That could be. I didn't hear anything. Yeah.
Do you guys believe the Phillies are in the World Series?
I keep sending you guys that message. I'm like, dude, we're in the World Series. Think about the history of the Phillies going all the way back to the 1800s as the Quakers.
Doesn't happen very often.
Think of how long. Think of how many World Series they have been to. There's some
1915, 1950, 80, 83, 93,
people, dude, if you
This
were
is
born
their
08, 09, right? This is what, the 8th time?
This is the 8th.
if you were born in 1916, you had to wait till 1950 if you survived all the shit going on in the world
Yeah, right.
to see the Phillies in the World Series. Like, come
And then
on.
you didn't even get to see him win a game.
Yeah, not one game.
Yeah, not one.
They
game.
literally went from they won one game in game 1, I think, in 1915, and then didn't win another World Series game until 1980.
You know, I was reading a couple years ago in Ocean City, New Jersey. They actually had an exhibit of the 1915 Phillies, and it turns out like they took an actual sailboat to Florida back then. They didn't take like a train or anything. They took an actual sailboat, like an old, one of those old school from the 1700s, like. Big,
so what was there, a week between games?
Apparently they took a big ass sailboat down to Florida for spring training.
I'm looking this up right now.
That's what I heard.
1915 Phillies big ass sailboat.
I thought you were talking about the World Series, Ed. You meant.
Oh, no.
I was going to say, that's why I said, was there a week between game 2 and 3?
But getting back to the larger point, 1950, then from 1950, it's 1980. The
30
greatest
years.
the greatest year of all time.
Oh, at least the greatest year of Ray from Philly's life.
Yeah.
Back when he assaulted Pete Rose on the field.
Oh, man. 30 years, yeah, and then only 3 after that. 3 years after that, and 10 after that. So it's been getting a little better in the past 42 years.
Then it was, 15 years? Back-to-back years, and now it's been 13.
So this doesn't happen often. This is not an everyday occurrence, people.
No.
This is not the Philadelphia A's. This does not happen often.
Connie Mack is not involved.
Cornelius Mack is smiling from the heavens watching this.
He's frowning at the A's.
Yeah.
Nah,
Yeah.
Mr. Mack is definitely chilling up there in the heavens with his little Phillies hat on, getting ready to watch it in less than 24 hours. Let's go.
So what's your predictions? How many games?
7. Phillies at 7.
So Ed thinks the Phillies will play in their first ever Game 7 in postseason history because they've never done it somehow.
Oh, my God. Game 7 would be... Dude, that's Saturday.
I'll die.
I won't make it through that whole game if there's a 7th game, unless it's a blowout early.
No, I think all our blood pressures are getting screwed up with watching these games. They're too intense, man.
Yeah.
I can't take it.
Yeah, I feel like I work nonstop. Like the only 3 hours per day I sit there and don't do anything is watching the Phillies in the playoffs. And then I look and it's as if I'm running a marathon or something. I look at the heartbeat and stuff. I'm like, Jesus, guy, I can't even relax.
You went up to
I'm sitting there doing nothing. I'm doing nothing and my heart's racing.
You went up to 180 on that one picture you sent us. Your heart rate went up to 180.
I could use a few. I could use it. I could use a few 10-1 games for in the Phillies' favor.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not looking forward to it because it was nice having these 4 days off a little, to chill.
Yeah.
But the anxiety tomorrow morning building up is just going to be. I ain't going to get no work done tomorrow. I can tell you that right now. And the anxiety all day tomorrow is just going to be,
It's weird because in a way, it's like, oh, it's house money. Like there were no expectations. But when you sit there and you realize you're like, all right, they have that opportunity, and
They're there now.
Like realistically, it could easily be 5, 10, 20 years. Like you have no idea. That's the crazy thing about sports. They could be back 3 times in the next 5 years, or they might not be back for, 3 decades. There's 30 teams, if they rotate it and took turns, it's once every 30 years. So
yeah,
you don't know. So you want them to make the most of that opportunity. So, I mean, regardless, you're going to be anxious. And if you care, you got the bandwagon people, right? And it's cool in a way to have the bandwagon because it brings excitement to the city and such. But in a way, you sort of envy those people because you're like, oh, you have fun. But then it's like if things don't go their way, they just you feel like, yeah, they forget about it, in 12 hours. Whereas you'll be thinking about it for the rest of your life.
Totally. I'll say this, this feels cool in a way because I remember obviously 2009, 2010, 2011, there was this feeling of okay, this is a good team. They better win. This feels different. This is I'm so surprised and thrilled that they're in there and I'm pulling for them. I feel like I'm on the other side of it now. I hope something good happens and I'm kind of curious. I don't know. It just feels different. It feels like a different, it's like 93 too, in a way. I mean, the team isn't the same as 93, but the circumstances I think are.
Well, I look at 93 as a successful year, right?
Yeah.
And it's like a memorable team and a memorable year, a memorable run. And I think in a way, this, no matter what the outcome is, good or bad, like you're going to look back and be like, dude, that run was crazy. You have the moments leading up to it, like reaching the postseason for the first time in so long, beating the Cardinals the way they beat them, beating the Braves, and some of the moments in there, like the Hoskins bat spike, that Harper moment in the NLCS is going to be replayed, and you're going to remember that, forever when he retired, for years and years. So I feel like 2009, you sort of forget about that season to a degree because it came after the championship. I feel like, I'm too young to remember 83. I was like a year old, but I feel like I've heard other people talk about, 83 was kind of just one of those years. Like they won it in the moment, you were excited, but you kind of forget about that team to a degree because it was coming after they had won, so close.
Right.
And I feel like whatever happens this year, this is going to be like a memorable, happy run. A team that you remember, and they have something to build up on that because a lot of these guys are young and they're signed for a few years. So there'll be a little bit of turnover after the season. Few guys are coming up on free agency, and there's always some trades to be made and such. But I feel like you at least have the next few years to look forward to and hope that they can replicate this. But it takes a lot of luck, and a lot of things have to go right to get to the same spot. So clearly, you hope they take advantage.
Well, I think this year does. This year doesn't remind me of '93, but there's a lot of similarities to '80 with this team. They were not expected to win that year as much as they were loaded with Hall of Famers. They were predicted to finish fourth that year, and they only had 91 wins. They had a terrible season. They got off to a really good start in April. They hung around in May. They were terrible in June, July, and August. And Dallas Green had this tirade in August, throwing the tables around, threw everybody under the bus in front of everybody in the locker room, calling out Luzinski, Boone, Maddox were the three that he called out, telling them that you guys are all prima donnas. You're all going to be traded at the end of the year. That team was done. And then they had the hottest September that they won every series. I think they only had like 3 losses the whole month of September. And they had the dramatic game to get into the playoffs like we did this year. The National League Championship Series was gut-wrenching like the playoffs were for us this year. And I see a lot of similarities because that team wasn't expected to win and this team wasn't expected to win. And they had a lot of breaks in 1980. Like, it's not just about talent and momentum, but you got to have some breaks going your way. And, we've had some breaks in this playoff run. And let's admit it. There's been some, like the check swing game.
Yeah.
Like that Profar, that was a check swing.
Castellanos hitting the ball off the base.
That was a huge break. And we had similar breaks just like that in 80. So when I'm looking back, and I didn't feel that way with the 08 team. The 08 team I felt was more dominating.
Yeah.
Like they were a really loaded team. And same with 09. And 93, I think, was just a bunch of vagabond players like Dave Hollins and guys like that just weren't named players that just, I think,
they kind of all had career years.
It was a lightning in a bottle year that year, and I didn't feel about 80 at all there. This is the first team that I felt very connected with 80 ever. It was this team because there's a lot of similarities of what's going on. And I just, I'm like, this is bizarre, man. It's just almost identical. The manager change from Ozark to Dallas Green, the terrible play during the season. They were 4 games out of first place in September. 4 games out. They had no shot. And all the teams all the Phillies teams, they showed this on the local news. All the Phillies teams that have been to the World Series, the most wins they had was the 93 team with 90. The most wins they had was the 93 team with 97 wins. All the other teams that went to the World Series, 92, 91, 87 this year. You know, even the 08 team, I think the 08 team has 92 wins. So it's not like we were like 105 win teams every time we've been to the World Series. The best record team was the 93 team.
That's crazy.
Isn't that weird? Like,
Yeah.
80 was 91 wins. 83 was like 93 wins.
How many
08
wins did the sailboat riding 1915 team have?
They were all in the low 90s. All the teams were in the low 90s.
The Red Sox still beat them and somehow kept Babe Ruth on the bench for the majority of it. I think they gave him like one at bat. Or maybe he might not even bat it. He might have thrown it.
Phillies had 90 wins.
Which team?
1915 Phillies.
Yeah, they were all low 90s. 90, 91, 92. The best record team was 93 with 97 wins. That's because they got that humongous start.
Yeah.
In April and May, they were like 35-8 or something. Like, it was something ridiculous.
Grover Cleveland Alexander was on that 1915.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Damn it, they didn't get one win.
Not one win.
No, I think they won game 1, didn't they? And then they lost 4.
Oh yeah. That's yeah. They didn't have another win from 1915 till 80.
Not until Ray was there in 1980.
That's crazy to think about. That's why you got to cherish it when they're in these positions.
Sure, it's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of things are happening. That's the other reason why I have them winning is because on paper, Houston's better. I mean they're just better, but I got momentum is a big key factor, and leadership ability with Harper and Schwarber are showing tremendous leadership ability. The manager with his calm demeanor, like something bad happens, he's like this. Something good happens, he's like this. Like he just doesn't show, which really, bounces off to the players. Like usually they don't see him pacing in the dugout or having any kind of reaction when something goes wrong, which the players feed off of that. So that's the main reason why this team has played so well under him, is because he just doesn't show any kind of emotion. He's stoic. And the players, especially in this day and age, players love that kind of a manager. So I think they got a lot going for them right now.
There
Mike
he is.
said you got to take advantage of it.
Rob's Cards, he's back. Rob, I gave you a shout out earlier in the stream for all the good calls that you're making.
Did he predict an MVP?
I think in the last one he did, and he was spot on. He was spot on the money. Harper and Schwarber.
For NLCS, but does he have one for the World Series?
I don't think so. I'm kind of scared to see what he's going to say for the World Series.
$69mega.com, big fan of this stream too.
I saw that. That's the second time that this person. That's how you know you made it when the bots come in. That's how you know you made it. That's cardboard podcast level. Made it.
Yep.
Ray, if the Phillies win, if they do win, will we see a part 2 of the Broad Street?
Yeah,
that you did for the Eagles.
Yeah, I already planned it Sunday night with my son. I was like, when I went to the Super Bowl game for when the Eagles were in it in 2017, my sister lives in South Philly, and I called her like that night. I said, Game 5, Game 6, and Game 7, I'll be at your house, so that I can bolt right out the door to Broad Street again, like in 2017. And and me and Ray are going to be together that week. So, you can see some fun videos on Broad Street.
Awesome.
Ain't nothing like it, dude. When on Broad Street, oh my God. It was like, I mean, the parade's cool and everything, but when the moment it actually happens, I never seen anything like it. I was at my sister's door and all the doors opened on the street at the same time. They just opened. Everybody was like, and I'm not talking about like walking out, running out the door and just like racing. The broad show was like, oh my God, look at this. Hundreds of people run into Broad Street. And the first thing I see is gigantic trash cans with their sirens going off, blocking all the side streets, fireworks going everywhere. With
Firecrackers.
The first 5 minutes, I would say there was about 800 people there. 5 minutes later, it was about 5,000 people there. 20 minutes later, I couldn't even cross the street. It was just amazing. It's just going, and everybody was like really good. Like, it was nothing crazy.
Right.
I never seen a sea of people running out of their houses like that.
I was down at the ballpark, so I just remember hanging out right around the ballpark for like hours upon hours, like out there with everyone greeting the players as they were finally leaving the stadium, like hours later. So Taguchi's wife looked so frightened at the mass amount of people screaming and cheering for her husband, who, you know, did even have an at-bat in the World Series. I don't remember.
What's good, if it's a game 6 or 7, it's a Friday and Saturday night, so it's not like people have. I mean, some people are working, I guess, but
regardless, work becomes way less important. World
Yeah.
Series.
Yeah,
That's still till this day my favorite, one of my all-time favorite YouTube sports card videos, the Ray from Philly trash truck video.
I didn't
That
know
is
what
the-
to do. I was with my sister and my brother-in-law, and he just grabbed the camera, and I just went off. I just went ballistic.
You just hear firecrackers.
The fire,
And
the
then
trucks.
You end the video at the perfect time where this guy, he must have been standing next to you or around you. He just screams, "Fuck yeah!" So,
Yeah,
that was the best video.
those trash trucks were gigantic, and these were the biggest ass trash trucks I've ever seen in my life.
Well,
These
if it
things
happens
were
again, you got to climb the trash truck.
I'm gonna climb a pole, dude. I'm gonna climb a greased pole. At my age, I'll break my neck and everything else, but
Hey, it's a good excuse to not go to work the next day.
There you go.
Yeah, I broke my neck, slid off a greased pole.
why'd you climb up a greased pole? People don't understand from other towns when I say, "Oh, they're greasing the poles." They're greasing the poles, and I'm like, they're what? Yeah, it's a Philly thing. They're greasing the poles, and they think it's something like, I don't know, sexual or something. I'm like, no, it's a term here in Philly that we know we're getting ready to win a championship when they're greasing the poles, because they climb the poles, and they're like, they have no idea what I'm talking about.
And it's literally like a bucket of grease
A grease
that they slab on the pole. That they put all over the wall.
Only in Philly, man.
And people still climb it. They greased them on
Yeah.
Broad Street. And some
Don't
dude in a
stop.
Hextall jersey got all the way up there.
Don't stop them. It doesn't stop. Dude, I've been to some crazy parades in Philadelphia. From the Stanley Cup in '74, I was
Was that
7
with the
years old.
Streakers?
That was with the Streakers. I was 7 years old, and we didn't live in South Philly at the time. We lived in Upper Darby, and my parents put me in the car. We drove down to South Philly, and my only memory of that parade was seeing a bunch of naked-ass people running in front of the car, and I'm like, why are these people naked? I mean, that was 74, so it was like it was the in thing. And the next year in 75, when they won the second straight cup, I remember making up signs and going around the corner to my house the next day and holding them out just for the cars to honk their horns. And I would count how many I had horns beeping that day. I was like, go back to my house. I'm up to 20 cars now. It was just, crazy. And then 80. But the parades are legendary here. And I didn't go to the Eagles Super Bowl parade. Ed, you were at the Eagles Super Bowl parade.
Yes, I went.
That was
epic.
epic.
Wild.
Epic.
That was That was crazy. But that was the only parade I've been to. I didn't get a chance to go to the '08 Phillies parade because I just could not get off from work.
And you look at the last two parades, two legendary things happened. Like you had Chase Utley in '08 with what he said, world effing champions. Then you had Jason Kelsey in 17 with his with his popular song that he sang on the Art Museum steps. It's just crazy stuff that happens.
Greasing with coconut oil
Coconut oil? Ah, God.
in honor of Gabe Kapler, his favorite lubricant.
That's Mike's favorite manager.
All-time great.
I got bad news. Look what Rob's card said. We're fucked.
Well, I ain't bothering to watch it now.
Yeah, let's forget this.
Get the broom out, Rob. Get the broom out.
How badass would it be if the Phillies did sweep the Astros?
It's going to happen, Ed.
Dude, if the Phillies sweep the Astros, we will be knee deep in Harper pump videos for a solid 2 months. From people. It will be YouTube will become unwatchable with all the pump videos.
Yeah. It's going to be Pump Town, USA.
And Mike will be the richest guy in the community because he's sitting on a warehouse full of Reese Hoskins cards.
I actually don't have that bad. I can't find. I used to have so many of his Topps Chrome PSA 10s. I can't find any. I must have
And Aaron Nola cards. He's
outside of the one in my collection.
He's the king of Aaron Nola cards.
I do have a shitload of Nola. They're buried somewhere in the closet. I got to dig some stuff out. But
Rob said he's probably wrong. See? Now
let's hope you're wrong. No offense, Rob, but I hope you're wrong as shit.
Dude, well, I think that's a good time to maybe wrap it up. We're going on a hour and 46 minutes. We are at 11 o'clock Eastern time. The game tomorrow might be like in the 7th, 8th inning right about now. Maybe 9th inning.
Yeah, what's it? 8:03 start times, I think.
Maybe Sir Anthony will be coming in this time tomorrow to
Finish
maybe wrap up our first win.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Sounds good to me.
We need to go live for Game 4 when we are wrapping it up.
Oh,
We
I
should
couldn't go.
live.
I could definitely not go live during the game. No way. No way.
Ed's going to be like staring at the screen like this. And Ed.
Yeah, I would be so distracted.
Anyone
I would just be
giving
sitting
out
there.
candy on Halloween, or are we just putting a sign on the door that says
Oh,
"Go
don't
away"?
bother.
If
Don't
it's
even-
after the game starts, you scream at the kids, "Get the hell out of here! Go home and watch the damn game."
They,
What the hell's
they
wrong
start
with you?
early around here, 6 o'clock. And I'll be like, don't even bother. The lights off. There's a sign, Phillies game.
What if
Don't
they
even
show up in an
bother.
Astros? That's when you like throw stuff at them.
Oh, that's when I get the hose. That's when I get the hose.
That's when you give them a penny.
No, I
Like,
give
I'll
them an
be like-
apple. That's it.
Bite the apple, throw it in their bag. Realize it's red delicious and spit the part you bit into their bag too.
I'll give them a Cowboys jersey. Not that I own one, but I'll give them
Sounds
any
like you
kind of.
do.
No, I go buy a Cowboys one and give it to any kid coming knocking at the door on Halloween.
Oh
Yep.
my god.
4 more wins.
Well, Alex, you're in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
So how's that work for Halloween when people are banging on your door and you're trying to watch the Phillies game?
Just turn out all the lights, hide the car somewhere.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll be all right.
Put out the
Yeah.
empty bowl and pretend that some greedy kid took it all.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Great idea.
Yeah, a lot of people just leave out a bowl
Yeah.
of candy, and I don't care if it's gone in 2 minutes.
Yeah, just write a note. Sorry, watching the World Series.
Yeah, I
Take it
wouldn't be-
all, save some for others, whatever. Don't bother me.
I wouldn't be surprised if that is actually going to happen. Yep.
Give them big.
Maybe
Very
they're
Devious.
This sounds like a
Raptor.
lot of work.
Tootsie Roll wrappers.
Reese is a devious guy, you know.
Baby carrots Wrapped the
Guys.
Tootsie Roll Raptors.
We're less than 24 hours from Game 1 of the fucking World Series.
Crazy.
Tomorrow, I'm telling you, I ain't going to get no work done. The anxiety, I'm going to double dose of my medication tomorrow to keep myself calm. The pregame to the pregame. I'll watch the pre-show, then the pre-show. Any interesting bets, Ed?
No, I haven't made any yet. I might pick a couple people for homers, but that's about it.
Okay.
As a rule of thumb, I never bet on World Series MVPs just because it's so subjective and random, and you never know who's going to win it.
Yeah. I like homers in the game. That's a cool bet.
I'll probably throw a blaster or two maybe on Bryson Stott to unload one.
I picked him for Sunday when we were talking. I picked Castellanos and Stott. I really felt Stott was going to do something. But we'll see.
We shall see. Less than 24 hours until Game 1.
Ray from Houston. What? Oh, God.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, for coming on. Thanks for watching. I know at one point, I think we had like 25 people almost in here, so that was sweet.
Anybody from Houston on in the room?
There are a couple Houston fans in the community. Nathaniel Go. Yeah, this is going back years. Nathaniel Go, my boy Rich, Breeze and No Aints, and
I forgot he was an Astros fan.
And Amish Denny, I'm pretty sure is an Astros fan.
He's a big Phillies fan too.
We should have had some Astros fans on and made a bet with them. You know, we send them a cheesesteak if they win, you know, or something like that.
Nah. Send them carrots. Send them baby carrots.
Carrots wrapped in a Tootsie Roll.
Yeah, let's have Reese take care of it.
All right, man.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks for watching. Go Phillies.
Go
Phillies.